Okay, hi, I'm Michelle Dudley, co-founder of the National Homeschool Book Award. We're here today with a few young readers chatting via Skype with writer Kristin Tubb, author of NHBA-nominated Selling Hope, a wonderful story about a girl traveling on the small-time vaudeville circuit with her illusionist father in 1910, centering around the tumultuous time when the Earth was about to pass through the tail of Halley's Comet. Hi, Kristin. Thanks for joining us online here today to answer some of our questions.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
First, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you live now, what you like to do when you're not busy writing?
Sure. I grew up in East Tennessee, which is kind of the Smoky Mountain area. So I grew up in a small town named Athens, and I did a lot of, because it was in the Smokies, I did a lot of outdoor activities like hiking and whitewater rafting and that kind of stuff growing up. I went to school at Auburn University, and I like to say I liked it so much I stayed 6 years. But I got 2 degrees while I was there, and I studied public relations while in college. And so when I left college, I worked in nonprofits for almost a decade. I'd say actually probably over a decade. Doing fundraising and that kind of thing, which I absolutely loved. But it's very difficult to start a family if you're a fundraiser because all your events are on the weekend and that kind of thing. So I ended up almost exactly 10 years ago to this day. It was the first week in March. I left my jobs and became a freelance writer full time.
So growing up, did you know that you wanted to be a writer, or when you were working in a different field, were you thinking that?
I did. Yes. Yeah. In some of the talks that I do, I like to tell a story about, I knew for sure that I wanted to be a writer starting in sixth grade. I went to an elementary school, City Park Elementary, which is in Athens, Tennessee, and had a wonderful librarian there who set up a program that if you read 3 books by an author and then interviewed that author you could interview that author by telephone if you did book reports on all of those books. And so I interviewed Madeleine L'Engle by telephone in sixth grade, who wrote my favorite all-time book, A Wrinkle in Time. It won the Newbery, I think in 1967, something like that, somewhere late 60s. But I told her in sixth grade that I wanted to be a writer. And I thought for sure she would say something like, "Oh my goodness, has no one ever told you how difficult it is," or anything like that. And she didn't. And I have to say, she said, when I told her I wanted to be a writer, she said, "Good for you. Keep reading and you can do it." And it always stuck with me that writers are readers first and foremost. And that's something that I definitely pass along to anyone who is an aspiring writer, is that it's the best job in the world because you get part of the job requirement is reading books. And the types of things that you like to read will probably be the types of things that you like to write. So yeah, I guess you could say for most of my life I've known that I wanted to be a writer.
So did you ever talk to her again since you had a book published? Did you ever have the chance?
I didn't. I have to say, I was so looking forward to, my first novel came out in October of 2008, and Ms. Lingle passed away, I think it was in March of 2008. So it was just months away. It was so close, and I really didn't have the opportunity. But I did later have the opportunity to meet online her niece. And I told her niece that story, and she said, "Yes, that sounds exactly like my aunt." So that was very nice.
So it sounds like you read a lot as a kid. What were some of your other favorite books?
Oh, gosh. A Wrinkle in Time is still my all-time favorite. I loved A Bridge to Terabithia. I loved Westingame. And I heard that Westingame was written, I think, Ellen Raskin, and she wrote that without an outline, which is something that is so amazing to me, because to me, it's one of the most perfect mysteries ever written. And I can't believe she wrote it without an outline. I loved From the Mixed Up Files of Ms. Franklin. I can't even say the whole name now. Basil B. Frankweiler. Is that right? um,
What do you read now? Do you read much children's fiction now or juvenile?
That's all I read. That's all I read. Yes, to me, they're the best stories out there. I love young adult and middle grade.
Nice. Anything recent that you wanna?
I have to say I love the Hunger Games. I don't know if you guys, I love the Hunger Games. I'm reading right now Under the Never Sky, which is also YA, and it's a dystopian as well. I'm really enjoying that one. I'm also reading Okay for Now, which I think a lot of people, it got a lot of Newbery buzz, and I think it won a couple of awards. Gary D. Schmidt wrote that one, and it's a very powerful book. So far, it takes a lot of strength to go back to that book because the protagonist is not in a good situation.